So I've been talking about ICE, ICE, the Intercontinental Exchange. It's the only company now, because they've just bought International Petroleum Exchange. It's the only place where you can actually buy barrels of oil in the world, and you must buy them through American dollars. You must have American dollars to buy them. You can't get oil without it. But for, as I said, if any reason the dollar lost its oil backing, the American empire would crash. I believe we're coming to that crash. How soon? I don't know. But out of the fire and smoke will come the new world order. This is how the Illuminati plan the destruction of America. It's already been started by a man put in power by the CIA named Saddam Hussein. The new Phoenix, or the new Horus, came into existence January 1st, 1999. The Eurodollar. The euro became the currency for 11 member states of the European Union. 1999, January 1st. A year later, in 2000, Saddam Hussein was told to demand euros for dollars. When other countries like Iran wanted payment in other currencies, they were the euro and the yen. The writing on the wall for the United States dollar became clear. Bush's shock and awe in Iraq was not about Saddam's nuclear capabilities. It wasn't about defending human rights. It wasn't about spreading democracy or even about seizing oil fields. It was about defending the United States dollar. The classic Hegelian dialectic. One currency against another. So the battle for all the ages was set in place. Now, recall that Saddam Hussein, who demanded payment in euros, was only doing the oil for food deal that he had made with the United Nations. So it didn't really affect much. And since that has now ended, oil for food, that oil for food program has stopped, the United States dollar is once again the only currency with which you can buy oil. Now, history will teach you that an empire will go to war for one of two reasons. Number one, to defend itself. Or number two, to benefit from war. And a military that costs as much as the American one will drain its economic resources and hasten its collapse. Yes, oil is still bought in one currency and one currency only still, but that's about to change. This is a gradual, economically draining process the Illuminati are involved in. They are so patient. They will wait generations to make their play, to get everyone complicit and on side and agreeable. Who do you think is going to play the role of Saddam next? Who is the next one to demand euros for oil? Can you guess? I believe this is the largest news story of the decade. I believe it is going to be life-changing, and no one's reporting it. This is the one event that will drastically affect everyone on this planet. The next one to demand euros for oil is the one that's being dragged to the United Nations Security Council. This government was also set up by the CIA. It's the Iranian government. That's who. The Iranian Oil Exchange is due to open March 23rd of 2006, next month. It'll be based on a euro dollars platform, not American dollars. So, for the first time, you will be able to buy oil in euros, not devaluating American dollars. Because after all, America is in an $8 trillion debt, and she owes those dollars to European banks, the ones who are dealing in euros. So, economically, this represents a huge threat to the United States dollar, much more than Saddam Hussein's threat ever did, because it'll allow anyone willing either to buy or sell oil for euros to transact on that exchange, going around the U.S. dollar altogether. If this is allowed to happen by the Illuminati, then everyone who is doing business in the world will adopt this euro oil system. The Spaceman AM 640 Toronto Radio, talking about the Iranian oil exchange that's going to be set up next month. March 23rd is the set date. The Europeans will not have to buy and hold useless American dollars in order to secure their payment for oil, but will pay with their own currency. The Chinese and the Japanese will love this new exchange because it'll allow them to drastically lower their enormous, worthless U.S. dollar reserves and deal in euros, so they can protect themselves against the depreciation of the U.S. buck. Russians, same economic interest in adopting the euro. Most of their trades with European countries anyway, with oil exporting countries like China and Japan, who will also love the euro oil exchange. And you can imagine how Russians hate holding those depreciating U.S. dollars. The Arab oil exporting countries will love dealing in euros and start getting rid of their huge pile of depreciating dollars, just like the Russians, just like the Chinese, just like the Japanese. Just like those other countries I just named, the Russians deal mostly with European countries. So they'll even prefer the European currency because of its stability and for avoiding currency risk. America is in an $8 trillion debt to the Illuminati. The Iranian oil exchange is allowed to enter business by the Illuminati March 23rd. The interests that matter, those of Europeans, Chinese, Japanese, Russians, and Arabs, will jump at the chance to deal in euros. This is going to sound the death knell for the dollar. Americans will be told they can't allow this to happen by their president, and will be sold some kind of lie so Iran can be, what, attacked? Getting a United Nations war resolution from the Security Council is going to be hard to get. You know who's on the UN Security Council, don't you? The permanent members, the ones with a veto. China, France, Russia. Now you understand why there's all this talk about Iranians developing nuclear weapons. So what alternative does George W. have playing the Hegelian dialectic here one currency against another. Well, he has a couple. He can do, if he can't get a coalition force to invade Iran, he can do a unilateral, by himself, nuclear strike. His second choice is a unilateral total war. It's obviously the worst strategic choice for America, the best one for the Illuminati. First, the United States military resources have already been depleted by 2 wars. Secondly, the Americans will get all the other powerful nations hating them even further. And third, major dollar-holding countries will have an excuse to decide to get rid of those mounting American dollars and dump them where the seeds will be planted in the high witching holiday known as Ostara to the Illuminati. March 10 is when Iran is hauled up in front of the United Nations Security Council with the report. March 23rd is when Iran is going to begin their own oil exchange based on the euro, not the American dollar. At the moment, there is only one company and 2 places you can buy oil in the world. One company is ICE, the Intercontinental Exchange, traded on the New York Mercantile Exchange and in London. If the Illuminati allows Iran to set up an oil exchange, she will use the euro. More and more will buy from that oil exchange than New York and London. Do you see what I'm getting at here? We're talking about major problems for the American economy. Because if the Iranian oil exchange is allowed to enter the market, it will eventually destroy the U.S. dollar. This collapsing U.S. dollar will cause inflation in the United States and will jack up long-term interest rates. At that point, the Federal Reserve will be forced to devalue its currency, raise its interest rates, which will trigger a major economic depression, a collapse in real estate, an implosion in bond, stock, and derivative markets will follow, and end in a total financial collapse sooner or later. It's either that or hyperinflation. And who's the new guy? Who's been brought in especially for this event? Because it's no coincidence that Mr. Greenspan's exit was timed for this. It's Ben Bernanke, picked by George W. for the job, the new Fed chairman. And you know what his strength is? In the causes of the Great Depression, a period in the United States history accompanied by substantial monetary deflation. At Princeton University, when he was there, he did essays on the Great Depression. That was his strength.